Hello and welcome back to Blackfinger Garage. I am Sean, your host, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about some idea I had about some tips on how to build your Wasteland vehicle. Now I know back on, I think it was episode 3, I did a whole thing on kind of like how to guide your thought process and how to hone in your ideas for building a Wasteland vehicle. But now I wanted to do something that's a little bit more about tips on things that you should keep in your mind as you're building. As you're actually past that planning stage, you know what you're going to do. Maybe you're still in that planning stage, but you have a vehicle and you're starting on it. So this is kind of something to have in mind while you're building and kind of the later stages of planning your Wasteland vehicle. So something to keep in mind is this is my own top 5 list. This is my own tips that I have in my mind while I do these things. We all might have a different incentive to build our own projects. You know, that's the beauty of these things, is they're art. You know, there's something that you build and you want to focus on for your own reasons. But these are my reasons. And I hope the reason I want to do this is because I hope they actually will help you out with your build. So the first tip is make a checklist and stick to it. Now, this can get tricky because if I want you to make sure you have a little bit of leeway there. I talked about this in previous episodes where, you have a definitive schedule or a definitive list of what you want to do, but you can still be flexible, right? I'm all for that. I am definitely all for that because that's how I build. I build on this by the seat of my pants, And what I usually do, as I've explained in other videos, is I'll take my scrap pile and I'll look through it, or I'll go to the scrapyard and I'll look through it for an idea. But when I say make a checklist, I mean take a look at what you're building and how you want to go about building it. What are the most important things to you in this build? Do you want a top-mounted gun? Is that, your vision that you had since the beginning? Well, then write that down on a list and make sure you hit that, you hit that one point. Do you want to make your own doors? Do you want to lift it, put a lift kit on it? Do you want to do a body swap? Any of these kind of things, just write down, because if you're like me, which is old, then you're going to forget things. And you're going to forget, and the worst part is you're going to forget it until it's too late. A good example is I redid my gun, my top-mounted gun on septic tank. Originally, it was sitting right on top of the roof. I had a plate that I welded the swivel to right on there, and the gun would move like this, but it couldn't move up and down. And I know I talked about this before, but the problem with that was I didn't originally plan it to be like that. I even cut a bar that I measured that was going to raise it up and let it swivel back and forth like this, and I forgot to put the bar on. I'm getting so excited about the build, I just grabbed that swivel and I welded it straight on the roof of the truck. Now, of course now I fixed it. I've gone back, probably took me about 8 months of looking at it and hating it to go back and actually cut that swivel off and then and weld that bar back on. So now I have it up at a height where it can swivel all around, which is my original plan. But because I didn't have a checklist and I didn't remember that that's what I wanted to do, I got a little ahead of myself and I had to go back and fix it. Not a huge deal, but it was a little bit of a headache. All right, now number 2 is a big one to me, is make sure that if you are inspired by other people's builds, that's fine. So be inspired by other people's builds, but don't think that you have to copy them. Still have your own thing, and don't let that other person's car be your end goal. You know what I mean? Like if you see something at Wasteland Weekend or at any of these other events, and you say, that's exactly what I want to do with mine, maybe take it a step further. See if you can take it a step further and just say, I want to do that, but I want to also do this. I want to take the piece of this one that I see in this car show and this picture on Instagram and this picture on Pinterest and whatever, and you kind of put them all together and you make your perfect vehicle, plus whatever you have rolling around in your mind. That's how I do it. I actually don't, I like to get inspired by what other people build, but I certainly don't like to copy techniques. I don't know. To me, it seems like I don't know. In my own mind, I think that maybe they'll get upset at me if I ever copied something completely. So a lot of times I'll just, I'll try to steer clear of that completely. And it might not even be true. It might be in my own head. Maybe they might be flattered, like the old saying. But to me, I am inspired by others, while still having my own goals. And going hand in hand with this is my number 3, which is realize that everyone has their own budget. There are hardly any two people that have the same budget for a car build, but just realize what you see in these other people's cars might not be in your budget, but just keep in mind what your budget is. We all go over budget, so set a budget. They say when you build something, you usually set a budget and then you go about 20% over when you buy materials. That's with cars, it's usually a bit more than that. But a good thing about these kind of cars is it's usually pretty cheap. You can get a lot of the scrap metal, a lot of the things that you're going to be putting on the aesthetics of the vehicle are going to be, scrap price basically. Well, when you buy it at a scrapyard, it's usually twice scrap price, but you get what I'm saying. Number 4, don't skip leg day. You know what that means, right? You see the dudes that are all buffed up, but then their legs are twigs. In the car world, especially in custom car world, that means making it look great, but it doesn't run, or making it run and not worrying about a lot of the things that you think people won't see, like the interior. Make sure you pay attention to every detail. Especially the interior is actually a good example, because people might see it and they might say, hey, that's a great build. I love what you did here. I love how it's so loud and it sounds really mean and aggressive. And they open the door and it's still leather plush interior. Unless that's what you're going for. When I built the Mercedes, I was trying to keep the interior still like a luxury vehicle. It was kind of like a chief's car, where the outside was beat up, but then the inside still had the leather seats, and it still had a lot of those original, power windows still worked and things like that, because it was like the chief drove this vehicle, so he had luxury inside. And it was a theme I went with. So if that's your theme, that's fine. But if you're going for something, an old rotted out vehicle, and you take everything off the outside, like say with septic tank, where I took everything off the outside, I took the glass out. If you have a vehicle where the glass is out for years and years and years, and you're using it in battle situations, the interior is probably going to be trashed. So take that into consideration. Also, when a lot of people do interiors, now I could do a whole episode on interiors, but when you do the interior of your vehicle, of your Mad Max Wasteland vehicle, you have to realize that you're probably going to be spending a lot of time in there. If you were, get in the mindset of that person, of that raider or whatever who's driving that vehicle, you're going to probably spend a lot of time in that vehicle. So you want to customize it. You want to put your little trinkets on the dashboard. In Mad Max, he had the picture of his wife and kid in the steering wheel. So you want things like that. You want maybe remnants of the past, things that motivate you as a raider, or things that motivate you as the hero of the story, whatever it is. I think it's a good idea to have those in there. And also they make great conversation points. When you have something like that, you put the details in your car, and when people see it, you can say, that is for this part of my story, or this is a result of this thing that happened to me, in my story. And you don't have to make up an entire story. I just think it helps a lot. And I think that making sure that your vehicle is the total package, I think that really helps out a lot too. All right, and number 5, this is the 5th one on my list. These aren't in any order or anything like that, but I think it's really important, is safety first. A lot of Wastelanders like to joke and say safety third or things like that, but safety when you're building your vehicle is actually really, really important. I'm talking about that, and on my vehicle I have spikes everywhere and rust, and at any point you could bump into something and get tetanus. But when you're building it, you have to take into consideration a lot of different things. You might, when you're out there in your vehicle, you can look like a badass, but when you're building it, make sure you're wearing safety goggles, make sure you're wearing long sleeves, when you weld, so you don't burn up your arms or catch anything on fire. Make sure your gas tank is away from your welder and things like that. Safety is a huge, huge thing. I hate to be that guy, but safety is a big thing. It's a big deal. When you get rust in your eye for the first time, you will never forget it, and if it doesn't permanently maim you, then you'll definitely never forget it. But rust in your eye is a horrible, horrible thing. You have to they have to pick it out, and it scars your eye forever. Bad time. Sure, it might make for some cool pictures on Instagram, but you want to be able to see Instagram, don't you? I mean, you don't want to do any permanent damage. So safety first with everything you do, especially on rusty, sharp, dangerous metal. It's just kind of a extra precaution that we have to take as Wasteland builders than the guy maybe doing something a little more tame. So keep that in mind. So I hope these tips helped you out. I hope they make sense. I tried to elaborate as much as I could, but I think a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. And I definitely have more than this, more tips. I want to make another video, maybe another 5 tips. I just have to kind of get my thoughts together on those. But these were the most important. These are the ones that really stuck out the most to me. And I think that they had to be said. You know, I think it's a big part of what we do. So another thing I wanted to mention was kind of the direction of this channel. I really enjoy doing these videos, and I spend a lot of time sitting around thinking about what I'm going to do next, and I have a whole list written out of all these topics and everything like that. But I feel a lot of times I feel like I have to sit down and kind of collect my thoughts on writing an episode and make sure that every point is hit and all that. I'd like to do more like I'm doing right now, where it's kind of like I just sit down and I talk. So I was thinking of doing more of a vlog type thing, where maybe I don't have to build an entire vehicle for an episode. Maybe I'll do a video that will show kind of the first stages of this build or things like that. So I do plan to do more videos in more of a vlog kind of format. Another thing I want to talk about is one reason actually why I haven't had a video out in probably a month, I guess, month and a half, is because I actually started another YouTube channel. Anyone who knows me knows that I have attention deficit when it comes to sticking to one topic. And don't worry, I'm not leaving you. It's okay. No. Shh. No, it's okay. Shh. I'm not leaving you. I have another channel, but it's not like that. It's just a friend for right now. Yeah, it's fine. The other channel is called Camp Gadget Reviews. And what it is I love camping. Camping is probably one of my favorite things to do. So I go out in this channel and I do some camping adventures, and I also review gadgets, you know, camping gadgets, which is the name of the channel. So I'll take, like I did a couple videos. I did one on a solar charger, portable solar charger, and then I did one on a water pump, little 12-volt water pump. Did one on a car starter, you know, those little lithium 12-volt car starters, just little gadgets like that. I've only just started the channel, so there's not much on it yet. But if you're into camping, I mean, it's funny because Wasteland Weekend is kind of the perfect mix for me of my love of Wasteland cars and camping in the desert. You know, it doesn't get any better than that. So I've started this other channel to kind of highlight that part of it. You know, the camping part, the gadget part. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be doing that, more camping adventures on this other channel. If you want to check it out, go ahead. I'd love you forever if you did. And I would like add you on Snapchat and TikTok and Flip-Flop and what is TikTok? So thanks again everyone for watching my show. Make sure you like and subscribe, tell your friends, tell everyone you know who is thinking about going to Wasteland Weekend or thinking about building a vehicle for this crazy event. Just make sure you tell them to check out my videos. I plan to do a lot more, like I said, and I hope it's going to be a lot of fun for you and me. So until next time, just make sure you keep rust out of your eyeball, please. See you next time. Someone's shooting a semi-automatic rifle over there.